So what's the real story behind building wealth that, actually lasts?
Right.
We all hear about luck or working yourself to the bone.
Yeah, the grind.
But what are the actual, everyday habits that financially secure people seem to share? Today, we're doing a deep dive into 10 specific habits that, they just keep popping up when you look at how people really thrive financially.
Exactly. And we've looked through the sources, and these aren't just vague ideas.
No.
No, they're described as real, practical, and proven ways to sort of shift from just, getting by to actually building a solid financial base.
Yeah.
Okay. So our goal here in this deep dive is really to pull out the most important insights from these 10 habits. We want to give you actionable stuff, things you can actually start doing. So let's kick things off with number 1, living below your means.
Okay.
Let's unpack this a bit. It sounds simple, but what's really going on there? Well, it's sort of a cornerstone, isn't it? Because it highlights this basic truth. Wealth isn't just about how much cash flows in.
Right.
It's about how much actually stays with you. The sources, they really emphasize that for many people, the real challenge isn't necessarily income level.
Oh.
It's more about where that income goes.
Yeah.
Think of your income like, I don't know, a bucket.
Okay.
If it's full of holes from overspending, it doesn't really matter how much water you pour in,
That's a really good way to think about it. So this isn't about extreme penny pinching or denying yourself everything.
No, not necessarily deprivation. It's more about being deliberate.
Deliberate. Okay.
Yeah. Understanding the difference between real needs and those impulsive wants. Making smart choices, budgeting, avoiding debt you don't need.
So where do the financially secure folks differ here? What's the mindset?
What seems really key is the priority. Instead of maybe focusing on flashy spending, people building long-term security, they tend to prioritize saving and, crucially, investing that surplus.
The surplus created by living below their means.
Exactly. It's that idea of delayed gratification, recognizing that real wealth gives you options, freedom down the road.
And that feeds directly into habit number 2, I guess.
It does, which is investing early and consistently.
Right. This is where that surplus really starts to, work for you. I like how this sources put it. Your invested money becomes like an employee.
Yeah, like it's working for you 24/7.
Diligently making more money over time. How does that actually work, though?
Well, it's basically the magic of compound interest.
Okay.
When you invest, your earnings, your returns, they can then generate their own returns. It creates this kind of snowball effect over time.
Right, the snowball gets bigger faster.
Exactly. And the earlier you start, even if it's just small amounts, the more powerful that effect becomes. The sources point to, the usual suspects: stocks, index funds, real estate.
Even your own business, maybe.
Definitely. Or your own business. The key thing is just getting started, letting time become your biggest advantage.
So you don't need a massive windfall to begin. Small, regular investments can really grow because of that compounding effect.
Absolutely. Consistency is key there.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Habit number 3, something I'm, pretty passionate about myself: learning every single day.
Yes. Lifelong learning. It seems to be a really consistent trait among people who achieve and, importantly, maintain financial success.
You see it all the time.
You do. Our sources mention people like Warren Buffett just reading constantly.
Yeah.
Or, Elon Musk basically teaching himself rocket science.
Incredible. But what's the connection to finance specifically?
Well, it shows that fundamental curiosity, right? That drive to know more. But specifically for your finances, the sources stress how vital financial literacy is.
Understanding how money actually works.
Exactly. So you can make informed choices, take control, really, not just react.
So what are some practical steps? How can you actually do this learning habit?
Well, the advice boils down to making learning non-negotiable, part of your routine.
Like carving out time.
Yeah, maybe it's reading books on finance or business, listening to, discussions like this one.
Hopefully.
Hopefully. Or exploring online courses, just staying curious about the economy, market trends. Even, 15, 30 minutes a day adds up hugely over time.
That makes sense. Okay, habit number 4. This one's about your social circle. Networking with the right people. The sources seem to draw a pretty direct line here, suggesting your network can actually impact your net worth. How does that work?
It's fascinating, really. It's the subtle influence of your peer group.
Okay.
The attitudes, the habits, even the opportunities that people around you have. They can rub off on you, profoundly affecting your own mindset and, where you end up.
So successful people tend to hang out with other successful or at least driven people.
It seems that way. They often gravitate towards others who are also knowledgeable, growth-oriented. Yeah, I know.
It makes a certain kind of sense, doesn't it?
It does.
If you're constantly around ambitious folks, it probably pushes you to raise your own standards, maybe opens doors you wouldn't have even seen otherwise.
Exactly. It challenges you, inspires you.
So what's the actionable advice? How do you build that kind of network?
Well, the sources suggest being proactive. Seek out connections with people you admire, people you can learn from.
So not just passively waiting.
Right. Maybe join industry groups, go to seminars or workshops. Connect with mentors if you can. The aim is to build real, mutually beneficial relationships. Learn from others.
That ties in pretty well with habit number 5, actually.
Which is?
Focusing on multiple income streams. It's that classic advice. Don't put all your financial eggs in one basket, right?
Precisely. Relying just on one paycheck, well, it creates a certain vulnerability, doesn't it?
Definitely, if something happens to that job.
Exactly. Our sources show that financially secure folks often diversify. They have income from side businesses, maybe investments paying dividends or interest, royalties, rental properties.
Freelance work, things like that.
Yeah, all sorts of things. It creates a safety net, gives you more options, and opens up different ways to grow your wealth.
And presumably those extra streams can then fuel more investing, speeding up that whole wealth building cycle we talked about.
That's the idea. Creates a positive feedback loop.
Does it have to be like starting a huge second business right away?
Oh, not at all. The sources are clear. Even starting small counts. A whole side hustle, your first small investment property, whatever it is, that could be the foundation for much bigger things later. The key is just taking that first step.
Okay, let's move to habit 6. This one's all about direction, setting clear financial goals.
Right. You wouldn't start a road trip without knowing where you're going, would you?
Hopefully not.
Same idea with money. The sources show that financially successful people are intentional. They know what they're aiming for.
So defining specific targets.
Exactly. Whether it's short-term stuff like saving for a down payment, or midterm like paying off the house, or long-term like retirement. They define it.
And it's not just setting them, is it? It's about reviewing them too.
Oh, absolutely. Regularly checking progress, adjusting the strategy if needed. Life happens. Things change.
Having those clear goals must provide focus, maybe motivation too.
Huge motivation. It helps you make those day-to-day decisions. Should I buy this? Or should I save, invest towards that bigger goal? It gives you a why.
Makes sense. So practically, how do you set and stick to these?
Well, the advice is pretty straightforward. Take the time to really figure out what's important to you financially. Write the goals down that makes them more real.
Okay.
Then break them into smaller, manageable steps. And schedule regular check-ins, maybe monthly, just to see how you're doing, stay motivated, and tweak things if necessary.
Got it. Okay, habit number 7. This deals with something that can really sink your financial ship, avoiding bad debt.
Yeah, this is a big one. And there's a crucial distinction here.
Between good and bad debt.
Exactly. Not all debt is created equal. Our sources really highlight the difference between, say, strategic debt, maybe a mortgage on a rental property, or a loan for a business that generates income.
Debt used to acquire an asset, potentially.
Right, versus what's usually called bad debt.
And by bad debt, we mean things like, what, high-interest credit cards, stuff used for things that don't appreciate.
That's typically it. Consumer debt for non-essentials, carrying high interest rates. That kind of debt just drains your wealth. It's like negative compounding. The interest works against you, digging a deeper hole.
Ouch. So the advice is pretty clear.
Very clear. Make a plan. Pay off existing bad debt as aggressively as you possibly can, and then be really conscious about avoiding it in the future.
Right. Okay, habit number 8 really builds on that. Staying disciplined with money.
Discipline. Maybe not the most glamorous topic.
But essential, sounds like.
Absolutely fundamental for long-term success. It's really the bedrock. It means consistently making choices that favor your future financial health over, instant gratification.
Can you give some examples of what that looks like?
Sure. The sources mention things like resisting those impulse buys. Stay invested even when the market gets choppy.
Not panic selling.
Exactly. Or, importantly, when you get a raise, making sure you increase your savings and investments, not just your lifestyle spending.
That's lifestyle creep, right? Avoiding that.
Precisely. And automating savings, sticking to a budget, these are tools of discipline.
So automating savings takes the decision out of it each month.
It does. Removes the temptation.
Yeah.
And a budget, well, it's your financial plan. guiding where your money goes, making sure it aligns with those goals we talked about.
Sounds like a muscle.
That's a great analogy the sources use. Financial discipline strengthens with practice. The more you do it, the easier it becomes.
Okay, number 9 offers a slightly different angle. Solve big problems.
Yeah, this one shifts the focus a bit.
How so?
Instead of thinking purely about how can I make more money, the sources suggest focusing on what significant problems can I solve for other people.
Interesting. So finding needs and meeting them.
Exactly. It could be starting a business that fills a gap, developing some useful tech, sharing valuable knowledge through writing or teaching, providing a great service people need. Countless ways.
And the idea is, if you focus on creating that value, making a real positive impact.
The financial rewards tend to follow naturally. That's the core principle. When you solve a big enough problem for enough people, you create value, and the market generally rewards value. That powerful mindset shift.
From chasing money to creating value.
You got it.
Okay. And finally, habit number 10. Think long term. This feels like it ties everything together.
It really does. It's sort of the overarching theme. A long-term perspective seems to be a defining trait of people who build lasting wealth.
So, not getting caught up in short-term noise.
Exactly. Understanding that real financial security isn't built overnight. It takes patience. It takes a willingness to delay gratification sometimes.
Sacrificing a bit now for more freedom later.
That's often part of it. Focusing on the future destination rather than every little bump in the road or every fleeting trend. It's about, playing the long game. Consistency, vision, and time.
Okay, so let's just quickly recap those 10 habits we've covered. We had live below your means.
Invest early and consistently.
Learn every single day.
Network with the right people.
Focus on multiple income streams.
Set clear financial goals.
Avoid bad debts.
Stay disciplined with money.
Solve big problems.
And think long term.
Phew, quite a list.
It is. But the crucial thing to stress here is you don't need to be wealthy already to start doing these things.
Right. It's the other way around.
Exactly. Consistently practicing these habits is the path to building wealth over time.
So our call to action for you listening is pretty simple, really. Don't feel overwhelmed, just pick one.
Just one habit that resonates with you right now.
And commit to taking one small step this week to incorporate it into your life. Just one thing.
Then, maybe next week or next month, add another when you feel ready. Small steps, consistently.
Yeah, because ultimately, building financial well-being, it's about more than just the numbers, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's about creating more freedom in your life. Having the resources to, pursue your purpose, whatever that might be.
Having more control over how you live.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we encourage you to think about how these habits could help you build not just wealth, but that bigger picture for yourself.